Picture this. It's a Tuesday evening in October 1974. You're 9 years old, sitting cross-legged on a scratchy brown carpet that smells faintly of dog and damp wool. The television is on. The gas fire hisses beside you, its orange bars glowing like something between comfort and danger. Your mum is in the kitchen. The smell of Fray Bentos pie is drifting under the door, and outside, the streets are already dark. Welcome home. There was something about a British home in the 1970s, something that no interior design magazine could ever fully capture. It wasn't stylish, not by any modern standard. The carpets clashed, the wallpaper screamed, the heating was unreliable, and the windows wept condensation every winter morning. But those homes had something else entirely. They had character, they had ritual, they had a specific texture to everyday life that, once you've lived it, never quite leaves you. Tonight, we're going back. Back to the avocado bathroom suites and the teak sideboards. Back to the homes that shaped a generation. These are 17 unforgettable home features of 1970s Britain. Number 1. The gas fire. It was the heart of the living room, not a metaphorical heart, the actual physical centre of family life. In 1970, central heating was still a luxury for many British homes. Around half of all households relied on individual room heaters, and the gas fire was king. You didn't heat the whole house, you heated one room. And everyone gathered in it, the click of the ignition, the soft whomp as the flame caught, the smell of warm dust burning off the elements for the first time each autumn. These weren't just sounds and smells, they were the signal that the evening had officially begun. Number 2. The cold bedroom. And the other side of that coin? Every room that wasn't the living room was absolutely freezing. The bedrooms, the hallway, the bathroom in the morning. You learned to dress under the duvet. You left your clothes on the radiator the night before, if you were lucky enough to have one. Getting out of bed in January was an act of genuine courage. Gone was any thought of lingering. By the mid-1970s, the government was actively pushing insulation schemes. But for millions of families, the cold bedroom was simply a fact of British life. Number 3. Artex ceilings. If you grew up in a 1970s home, you know exactly what this means. That swirling, textured plaster coating that covered ceilings from Carlisle to Cornwall. Artex was everywhere. Swirling patterns, stippled peaks, random peaks that could cut a small child's hand during a pillow fight. It was cheap, it was quick to apply, and it covered a multitude of plastering sins. By 1975, Artex Limited was selling enough product to cover the ceilings of hundreds of thousands of homes every year. Builders loved it. Homeowners thought it looked modern. And children stared at it from their beds, finding faces and animals in the patterns overhead. Number 4. The teak sideboard. Every living room had one. Low-slung, long, Scandinavian in influence, but thoroughly British in execution. The teak sideboard held the good china that never came out. The photograph albums. The Christmas decorations from October until they were needed. A small transistor radio. And, if your family was particularly modern, a drinks cabinet with Advocate and a bottle of Cinzano that had been there since 1968. Furniture brands like G-Plan and Urkel were genuinely aspirational in this era. A G-Plan dining set meant you were doing all right. It meant something. Number 5. Wood chip wallpaper. Artex on the ceiling. Wood chip on the walls. The 1970s British home had a definite texture policy. Wood chip wallpaper, that rough, grainy paper with actual wood fragments embedded in it, was sold in every DIY shop in the country and painted over in magnolia or buttercup yellow by millions of enthusiastic homeowners. It was forgiving. Lumpy walls, uneven plaster, wood chip covered it all, and it was extraordinarily difficult to remove, as an entire generation of 1990s homeowners discovered. But in its heyday, Wood chip felt fresh. It felt like doing up your home properly. Number 6. The avocado bathroom suite. Perhaps the single most iconic symbol of 1970s British home design. Avocado green, harvest gold, whisper pink. The coloured bathroom suite arrived in Britain in the late 1960s and absolutely dominated the 1970s. By 1976, avocado was the most popular bathroom colour in Britain. Millions of homes had them fitted. The suite, bath, sink and toilet all matched, all the same shade of slightly unnatural green. And at the time, it felt genuinely luxurious, a step up from the cold white porcelain of the post-war bathroom. It felt warm, somehow, coordinated, modern. Number 7. The hostess trolley. Saturday evening, 1973. The Two Ronnies is about to start. Your mum has wheeled out the hostess trolley. A goblin or a crest probably, cream-coloured with a warming drawer below and a serving surface above. The lamb chops, the tinned peas, the mashed potato, all kept at exactly the right temperature. The hostess trolley represented a very specific kind of 1970s aspiration. Entertaining at home, having guests, being organised. They sold in extraordinary numbers throughout the decade, and Saturday evening television and the hostess trolley became as natural a pairing as Morecambe and Wise. Number 8. Swirly carpets. Not a single colour. Never. The carpets of the 1970s British home were an event. Abstract patterns in oranges, browns, mustards and dark reds. Swirling, geometric, occasionally bordering on hallucinogenic. Axminster and Wilton looms across Britain worked overtime producing carpet designs that today would be considered deeply bold. They hid the dirt brilliantly. That was the practical truth. In a house with children and a dog and muddy boots by the back door, a busy patterned carpet was genuinely functional, but they were also, in their own way, beautiful. Number 9. The coal bunker. In the early 1970s, more than 15 million British homes still used solid fuel heating in some form. The coal bunker sat outside the back door, or in the yard, or under the stairs in older terraced houses. The coalman came weekly. His hands were always black. The coal went into the bunker and from the bunker into the fireplace or the back boiler. And then came the power cuts, the 3-day week of January 1974. Families huddled around their fireplaces because the electricity was simply off 3 days out of 7. The coal bunker wasn't a nostalgic feature in 1974. It was survival. Number 10. The back boiler. Behind many a living room fireplace sat a back boiler, a water heater tucked away behind the flames, quietly heating the water for the whole house. You could have your fire on and your hot water running simultaneously. It was clever engineering for a different era. The sound of a back boiler system, the ticking pipes, the occasional gurgle, was the background music of millions of British childhoods. Families like the Thompsons of Sheffield, a typical working-class family of 5, might have their entire hot water supply dependent on keeping that fire going through winter. Nothing was wasted. Number 11. Formica kitchen surfaces. Wipe clean, heat resistant, available in every colour and pattern imaginable. Formica, the laminate surface brand that became synonymous with kitchen worktops throughout the 1960s and 70s, was in virtually every British kitchen. Red Formica, beige Formica, Formica printed to look like marble or wood grain. It was the kitchen surface of a nation that was learning to cook from Delia Smith's family fare and experimenting with things like spaghetti bolognese for the first time. The kitchen was changing, and Formica changed with it. Number 12. The pantry. Before the chest freezer arrived in the British home, and they began arriving in significant numbers through the 1970s, there was the pantry. A cool, north-facing room or cupboard where the bread went, where the tins were stacked, where the butter sat under a dish and the milk stood in a jug. The pantry smelled of cool stone and slightly stale bread, and the particular mustiness of tinned food. It was organised. Everything had its place, and the woman of the house, it was almost always the woman, knew exactly what was in it and what needed to be replaced on Saturday's shopping. Number 13. The telephone table. By 1970, roughly 35% of British homes had a telephone. By 1979, that figure had climbed significantly, and the telephone was not just a device, it was a piece of furniture. It sat on its own dedicated table, usually in the hallway, with a small seat or stool beside it and a notepad and pen for messages. Calls were expensive. You didn't linger. Mum would answer, speak for exactly as long as necessary, and hang up. The idea of a teenager spending an hour on the phone was an extraordinary luxury and a source of genuine family tension. The telephone table was a piece of domestic theatre. Number 14. Net curtains. Every window, every house. The net curtain was simultaneously privacy screen and community institution. You couldn't see in, but you could, with practice, see out. And plenty of people did. The street had eyes, and those eyes were framed in white nylon netting. They kept the interior dim and slightly yellowed with time. They required weekly washing. They sagged and eventually needed replacing. But a house without net curtains was a house that wasn't quite respectable, not in 1970s Britain. Number 15. The box room. 3-bedroom houses that were, in truth, 2 bedrooms and a box room, a space barely large enough to stand in sideways. It held the single bed of the youngest child, or the ironing board, or both simultaneously. The ceiling sloped. The window was tiny. In summer it was an oven. In winter, you already know, millions of British children grew up in box rooms and remembered them with extraordinary fondness. A private space, a small kingdom, even if that kingdom was 8 feet by 6. Number 16. The Sunday roast kitchen. Sunday morning. Every Sunday morning, the smell of roasting meat filling the entire house by 11 o'clock. The radio on, perhaps Jimmy Young on Radio 2. Your mum at the stove, managing 4 rings and an oven with the precision of an air traffic controller. The kitchen was the stage for the most important meal of the week, and the roast, beef, lamb, pork, chicken, depending on the budget, was the emotional and nutritional anchor of family life. Beef might cost around 40p per pound in 1972. A whole chicken, a special occasion bird, the Yorkshire puddings in the deep fat tin, the gravy made from the juices. Nothing was wasted. Nothing. Number 17. The television set. And so we return to where we started, the television set. Not a screen, a set. It sat on its own stand, or in its own purpose-built wooden cabinet in the corner of the living room. The whole room faced it. The furniture was arranged around it. By 1971, around 91% of British homes had a television, and for millions of families, it was the most expensive item they owned. Switching it on took 30 seconds while the valves warmed up. The BBC broadcast a test card during the afternoon. Colour television was new and marvellous. BBC One went fully colour in November 1969, it following close behind. The whole family, sometimes 28 million viewers for a single programme, half the population, watching the same thing at the same time. There has never been anything quite like it. We had less square footage, less central heating, less choice, less everything that modern life tells us we need. But there was something in those homes, in the swirly carpet and the hissing gas fire and the smell of Sunday roast, that felt unshakable, permanent, ours. If you grew up in a 1970s British home, you know exactly what I mean. You can feel it right now, can't you? If this brought back memories, share it with someone who remembers, someone who will smile the moment you mention avocado bathrooms, or that wood chip wallpaper they spent a weekend scraping off in 1994. Please subscribe to keep these stories alive. There are so many more to tell. And drop a comment below. Which of these features was in your home? And which one do you secretly miss the most?